August 19, 1996.
Sweet mystery of life, at last I found thee.
The people who make commercials know how to sell you a car.
Any person making a good salary will be able to own one.
How to sell you products that will soothe your stomach.
Don't make the antacid mistake.
How to sell you products to clean your floors.
Just squirt and mop. No gelling residue, no rinsing.
Now, they want to sell you something new.
We're fighting for the children.
Tonight, a new ad campaign selling you on doing the right thing.
This is ABC News Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Washington, Chris Wallace.
Over the years, the slogans have become part of our national conscience. Only you can prevent forest fires. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. And some of the images have been just as indelible. The Indian chief watching the pollution of America with a tear in his eye. The crash dummies telling us to buckle up. They are called PSAs, or public service announcements, and they are the work of the Advertising Council, leaders in the industry who volunteer their time to create public information campaigns. Now the Ad Council is launching an unprecedented new campaign, devoting 80% of its efforts over the next 10 years to a single cause, trying to mobilize people to help children who are at risk. They produced a set of stark black and white commercials that tell how parents and community groups are fighting to keep kids out of trouble. And they've come up with a new slogan, trying to get you to help. But enough talk. Take a look at some of the new commercials.
Well, this is the picture we think our neighborhood looks like.
A land where there's not
An after-school program that develops children's artistic skills is about to lose its funding. The alternative, a spray can. Whose side are you on? We know dozens of ways you can keep valuable programs like this functioning in your community. We're fighting for the children. Whose side are you on? A 38-year-old single mother, working 2 jobs so she can raise her kids in a decent neighborhood. A 26-year-old drug dealer, a new neighbor looking for new customers. At stake, her children. Whose side are you on? Terrell is a mad dad, family men who work with local authorities to keep their neighborhoods safe. Not everyone has to take to the streets, but everyone can take a step to help kids. Call us. We're fighting for the children. Whose side are you on?
When we come back, how that provocative public service ad campaign came to be. Behind the scenes on Madison Avenue.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Lexus Luxury Automobiles.
Announcing the Lexus award-winning sales event, your opportunity to...
Advertising has motivated you to buy many products over the years, whether or not you believe commercials work. But getting you to do the right thing, not just buy the right thing, is much tougher. That's the challenge behind that unusual campaign from the Ad Council. Ads you'll be seeing a lot of in the months and years to come. ABC's Deborah Amos tonight on the birth of Whose Side Are You On?
Madison Avenue, the capital of big-time advertising that shapes what we eat, what we wear, what we want. Where one of the toughest veterans of the ad wars, Alex Kroll, now has his toughest assignment, a campaign on behalf of children. And for that, he has to go down to the streets.
My idea of good advertising is that you really have to get out into the streets, and you can't do it living in a, the isolation of Madison Avenue or Wall Street or any place else. So I went out to Brooklyn, and I was with a driver who kept trying to convince me that this is a place I didn't want to go, and I said, no, this is it, Von King Park.
The park is in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Dangerous for kids, plagued by poverty, lured by drugs. Kroll came to see this after-school program to see why it works.
I didn't know what to expect, but pretty soon I was surrounded by kids. And they were like kids anyplace else. I mean, they were completely immersed in their theatrical performance.
It's a program called Ellison Youth, founded by David Ellison, a local businessman.
Kids is seeking attention. That's what they need, some kind of attention, somebody to pay them some kind of mind. You just got to give them a chance.
Kroll was impressed. Ellison demands hard work, 2 hours study before rehearsals. Kids go on to college. Teen pregnancy has been reduced. Here, there is hope.
The point was, it was really working. David, who I think is one of the real saints, have been throwing their bodies at this problem, not waiting for me to write a slogan or for the government to offer him money.
If you haven't discovered, which I did.
Just been throwing himself at this with very little but sweat and imagination.
And when he walked away, Kroll was sure he could use his skills to convince a cynical public that there are things that work. This campaign in media dollars could rival Lexus, McDonald's, and Jell-O. But researchers know more about why Americans buy luxury cars than their attitudes towards children. So the campaign began where all successful ad campaigns start, from toothpaste to breakfast cereal, with focus groups. They set up focus groups around the country to test attitudes anonymously, to find out what moves people to buy certain products, or in this case, to care about kids. Researcher Margaret Mark led some of these discussions.
I guess maybe naively I thought that if you could just tell them how bad it is, through statistics, through the data, the facts about what's happening to American children, you couldn't help but move them.
And at first, they were moved. I go visit my nephew at school, and all these little kids cling to me because they're starved for attention, said a woman from St. Louis. This comment from Fort Lee, New Jersey. It's difficult to be a kid, maybe not to have a mother and a father, maybe to have step-parents. But then the focus group said something that surprised the researchers when sympathy turned to anger.
What's wrong with parents who let this happen? I would never let this happen. Who are these people, those people, who let this fate befall their children?
Like these comments from New York. I'm sort of angry and blame the adults. I've got 2 jobs. I'm divorced and have 4 children. Every one of them is in college. I just think you have to reach inside yourself.
In fact, some people would go so far as to sacrifice this generation of children rather than help them as a kind of a moral lesson to their parents and parents-to-be in the future. Very grim.
At the same time, a similar study was conducted by Deborah Wadsworth with Public Agenda, a research firm in New York. There were similar findings.
The reality is that people are unengaged not because they're ignorant or not because they are inattentive, but because they are just overwhelmed.
The public is then caught on this dilemma, and it's a furious dilemma. They don't see how they can help the children in need without helping these parents whom they despise. And so they turn their back on the problem.
It was a critical insight, but there was another important finding, a dramatic change in opinion when this statement was read to the focus groups. We hear a lot of news about welfare cheats and deadbeat fathers and negligent mothers. But what the news doesn't cover is all the millions of parents and kids who are struggling hard, often under circumstances that are so difficult they would wear down the best of us. And when you read that in the focus group, what happened?
It unleashed just a flood of sympathy, empathy, a willingness to identify.
Now, these comments from the focus group. You know, you don't hear in the newspapers how many people woke up today and didn't beat their wives or abuse their kids. There's a whole group of people who are really just hanging in there and do what they have to do.
It was as though we activated all of their empathy. And they said, you know, that's right, and I forgot. And I, too, have had a hard time, and there were times when I was a less than adequate parent.
When they hear of these stories of people trying to help themselves, It's like the ice block melts and their nascent instinct to help children is released.
Terrell is a mad dad.
So we have a story to tell. We have some myths to debunk and truth to get out.
And this is one of the stories.
Terrell Bishop is angry and taking to the street again tonight. To take it back from pushers and gangs and make it safe for his 4-year-old. Whose side are you on?
When we come back, the road from focus groups to polished television commercials. In a moment. The science of advertising, how to push you to action, to buy a product or an idea, is something we don't often get the opportunity to see. Part 2 now of Deborah Amos's report on the new ad campaign. Whose side are you on?
I think these kids are good about, for getting the idea across.
In Chicago, Tom Shortledge and Mike Fames are the creative minds who had to translate what the focus groups felt into the reality of the ads.
We were pretty amazed at the way they had reframed the problem. The fact that there are a lot of deserving parents out there. That was something that I'm not sure we had ever heard before.
Well, what we wanted to do was say that there are people who are struggling to raise their kids right. And what we wanted to do was create a vehicle in which people could empathize with those families.
They did it by finding real live examples.
A 38-year-old single mother working 2 jobs so she can raise her kids in a decent neighborhood.
We wanted complete reality in the commercials. So we went and hired in effect casting people to go out and try to find families that fit the description of what we wanted to portray.
A 26-year-old drug dealer, a new neighbor looking for new customers.
That's a real drug dealer. He's currently in a rehab program, and the amount of reality, that was supplied by somebody who had been a drug dealer was very appealing to us.
But Tom and Mike knew that before the public could ever sympathize with these parents, first, they had to be able to identify with them.
We want the viewers to feel that those people are really just like me. So we're looking for the little images that say, I do that myself, that flash of recognition. So if the mother is looking out the screen door, wondering where her kids are, and what are they vulnerable to at any given moment, that's the kind of image we want to put in.
You're going to care about your neighbor's kids. And if you feel they're threatened by whatever, you're going to do something about it. And in a way, that was what we were trying to do. We were trying to make these cases all somebody's neighbor. And as a result, have you feel for those people.
Terrell is a mad dad. Family men who work with local authorities to keep their neighborhoods safe.
Portraying positive images was key, breaking stereotypes to push the emotional buttons that the focus groups had revealed. In Los Angeles, they focused on a group that was doing something on their own, mad dads, former gang members, dedicated fathers who patrol their own neighborhood streets.
We came across the mad dads and we're just thought, this is a great, great case of somebody deciding we can do something in our own neighborhood to make a difference. It was all the more compelling because at first you might not think, well, is that a good guy or a bad guy, or who is he? But he turns out to be a great guy who's really doing something heroic.
We're doing it for this neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? We need some more brothers to come on out and get with us, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're just on the positive tip, man.
Look at these brothers, they all together like this, you know what I'm saying? Piled together like a gang, but not no gangster, not no gang banging tip.
Kenneth Riley and Terrell Bishop started their twice-weekly patrols around South Central LA 11 months ago.
You should want to see things in your community better. It's not going to get better by you just letting everything go by.
One thing we know, that it always have to take one person. If they see us the right way, they'll follow right behind us.
The street patrols fit the researchers' findings, carrying parents doing something good. And mad dads have produced some of the most powerful images of the whole campaign.
The image of the father coming home from, he's been out patrolling all night to the street trying to make his neighborhood safe, and what he's doing it for is those kids. And there's that great moment when he bends over and and kisses his son while he's sleeping.
And when you saw that, did you say, "Ha! This is how we're going to end this spot"?
I think we said the exact words were, "That's great. That's terrific. That's exactly the kind of emotion we want."
And the men of Mad Dads brought the same kind of emotion to the media launch in a Washington hotel.
I'd like to take a moment to introduce two gentlemen, two heroes, really, who are not quite as invisible as they were just a few days ago. But I want you to think of this as more than an advertising campaign. This is a documentary of an uprising.
An uprising that's already got an 800 number and a website, which is plugged into a network of volunteers. And an unusual advertising slogan designed to spur people to action.
Whose side are you on?
You're on the side of the Mad Dads, the side of the good people, or the other side, which are the demons that would destroy the kids. It's an interesting choice, because even if you choose to do nothing, you've chosen against the children.
The Ad Council's past successes are part of American culture. We now buckle up for safety, and we know who prevents forest fires. But the Children's Campaign is the largest effort ever, and perhaps the most difficult, because the art of advertising has to change some hard realities.
¿Qué pasó? What's cool? Everything okay? We got people out here that are afraid of their own children. You know, we got people out here who are scared to come out their own homes at night, in the daytime, you know, and it shouldn't be like that. Is you the father? No. You the father? No. You're not the father?
Here's a group of men who have taken this matter in hand and decided to be the protectors of their neighborhoods. So that's one part of it. The other part is to not make it entirely hopeful, because it isn't hopeful right now. Not have any happy endings in these ads. To end before there's a happy ending, because the ending depends on us, all of us, what we do now.
That's why the Ad Council has committed the money and creative minds for a 10-year run, an unprecedented campaign, 10 years, because they feel there's such a need to hammer it home. For Nightline, this is Deborah Amos.
Alex Kroll, the man who helped develop the Whose Side Are You On campaign, is the chairman of the Ad Council and the former CEO of the Young and Rubicam ad agency. He joins us now from Bristol, England. Mr. Kroll, I know that these ads have just been released, but have you gotten any early indication of public response?
Yes, we have, Chris. Some very early returns, though, and I wouldn't like to project too much from them. But the campaign really started on the 1st of August, and so far we've traced only about 200 showings of the commercials, which is not very much. But we've seen what we think is a very good bounce on the website. We've gotten about 12,500 hits per week since the second week in August. We normally don't think that a campaign is really ready to roll out until it's been out there a month or so, and we haven't had that period of time. So it's an early indication and encouraging.
If people do get in contact with your website or with your 800 phone line, what can they do?
Well, they can find out what they can do, and people, I believe, can participate in this program in all sorts of ways. Some people are only going to want to get more information. Others are going to want to be able to assess their community and see how well they're doing for children. Others are going to be able to do something specific, tangible for children. And that's what we want. We want people to take some step, some small step even, in behalf of children. In a funny way, sometimes a change in behavior changes attitude. And if we can get enough people doing enough little things for children, I think we can change the social center of gravity in this country and put children back in the middle of it again.
Let me ask you about that, because, you know, the past ad campaigns that we've talked about, asking people to buckle up or watch where they drop their matches in forests, you're asking people this time to do a lot more on an issue which doesn't hit them in the face quite as directly. Do you worry about that?
Well, we know that this message gets people to respond. We know that once the public understands the truth of this issue and is given some practical way, some hopeful way that they can act and make it better, that they're willing to do that. So we're quite optimistic. Is it bulletproof? No. The biggest dilemma we could have is that the media actually doesn't run the campaign enough. And to make sure they do, we need to create enough advertising and have enough money to create advertising that will keep them interested. There's an insatiable desire for novelty, as you know, in the media. So we must get the kind of media pressure that we're talking about here. Our goal is $200 million in media pressure against the campaign that you showed earlier, all by itself, and $1 billion overall for the Ad Council in any year.
I'm sure the Advertising Council is deluged with requests from various causes, all worthwhile. Why decide to devote so much of your time, money, and efforts to this one single cause?
Oh, because we believe that this is the fundamental issue in this country. I believe that, and I think all of our board agrees, and our allies, that unless we fix this crisis, unless we turn this around, all of our hopes and aspirations in this country are going to be undermined, undercut. There is no tomorrow unless we turn around this children's crisis. And this campaign is designed to make children a priority. Whose side are you on says that children are a side. They're not a side issue or a side effect or a side of a lot of other issues. They are the side. They are our future.
Mr. Crow, we're going to have to leave it there. They are indeed powerful ads, and we wish you the best of luck in your new effort.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again for joining us tonight. And that's our report for tonight. I'm Chris Wallace in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
If you'd like a transcript or video cassette of this or any other edition of Nightline, please call 1-800-913-3434.